Welcome, everybody, member of the public. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
The United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, are there any changes to the agenda? We've got to start talking about that at our non-public to find out. I think it's been months since we actually had that conversation. I'm guessing no. All right.
It is on there. I was gonna say we need a student representative. I didn't see the line on there.
We have public comments
Public
first.
comments first? Yep. All right, so we are ready for public comments and the policy is on the screen. If somebody would like to make comments and ask questions from our Jaffrey Ringe community, you are welcome.
Gotcha.
Okay. Please know that we have a second session of public comments. We can absolutely extend this time. And so as we move forward with our meeting, if you have concerns or questions and or comments, please take advantage of this second public time. I'm trying to get the agenda up on my screen. All right, so we now have a student representative at our table. Welcome. I'm Lisa Wiley. I'm the chair of the school board. And I'll let the board go around first and then ask you to introduce yourself, okay? So go ahead, Chris.
Chris Radcliffe, I'm a representative from Ringe.
Sandy Stewart, I'm a representative from Jaffrey.
Lisa Wiley, Ringe representative.
Christine Pressman, and I am from Jaffrey.
Judy Furstenberg, I am Jaffrey and Ringe at large.
Hi, I'm John McCarthy from Jaffrey.
Charlie Iger Ridge.
Charlie Ringe. So you're on.
My name is Dante Eck, and I'm a junior here at Conant Middle High School. It's a pleasure to be here.
Did you say you're a junior? Which means, should you like this, we could keep you for longer than just this year. That would be cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot that happens on this.
Absolutely.
Can we just ask real quick, what made you apply for this? What made you consider it?
It just seemed like a very good opportunity for me to engage myself within the school's community and voice the students' opinions and like opinions on matters at the school.
So, what this would look like is at the beginning of the session, you have an opportunity to report to us anything you're seeing, any concerns, any cool things. And just kind of inform the board. If you have questions for us, we can consider taking those. And as we go through the agenda, if you have things, normally I think people do raise their hands to ask questions and stuff, but you're welcome to join in the conversations. If you find that it gets getting late and you need to leave, you can simply say, you know what, I'm gonna bug out of here now and see you next time. So you're welcome to do that. We can't do that, but you can. All right. Do you have anything to tell us about for now?
Not at this moment, no. But yeah, it seems to be like a low amount of issues so far from what I've seen.
Good. Can I ask, is there a homecoming coming up?
Yeah, on the October 11th.
Okay, so this coming Saturday?
Yes.
Cool. Do you know of what are the events happening with that? Do you have any idea at this?
There's
Not to put you on the spot, sorry.
There's a homecoming games beforehand, and then the homecoming float during or after the homecoming games, and then homecoming.
Forward to hearing more about that. Awesome. All right. Next comes superintendent's report.
Right. So, tonight's report
dovetails with other elements of the school board meeting tonight. Also, some of the information that I have on here is both for the purpose of a reminder of past meetings that we've had, but also to, because Dante's here new, educate you a little bit on what has transpired over since last spring till now, because that greatly impacts how we move forward this year as well from a financial standpoint. And that impacts everything else, of course. My hope is that I know that Dante is not a voting member of the school board, but my hope is that when you have the desire or opportunity to be part of conversations with the school board, that you'll be able to listen, and if you're provided the opportunity to provide some input from your perspective as well and from the students' perspective, that would be good. So WMUR came out last week and talked about the nearly 90 school districts and communities that in New Hampshire that have Cigna School Care as their health insurance provider. And so we are part of that pool of healthcare, of people taking that healthcare. And what has happened is, from our understanding, is that over the last 2 years, there were higher than expected claims across the entire membership pool. That means across the entire state, not just our location. Matter of fact, we don't know if we had higher than average or higher than expected claims. But the district nonetheless is part of this, and as they explained that in the years where they have a surplus and they're able to provide money back to the school district and employees and so forth, this is the opposite of that. We have that responsibility to help out in times that are lean. And they are about 4.5 from the last time that they talked to us when we had that meeting, when we actually canceled out a negotiation session to go to that meeting. They seem to be about 4.5 million to the negative inside the with their trust fund or their fund for emergencies. I don't know if it would be a trust fund necessarily, but just their savings. And so we are given, or everyone is given, this invoice, and our invoice turns out to be about 1.5, maybe a little bit over 1.5 of the premium, the cost of the premiums, and that's $585,196. I do believe that the town of Jaffrey also is within school care, and they have something that is less. They have fewer employees, 88,000, so closer to 100,000 there. And then, so we look at this, and it's due upon receipt. They do tell us that we have a 90-day grace period. So that means up till December 31st, we can pay it and not have any penalty or any interest added on. Starting January, February, March, April, May, there would be a consistent 0.5% added on of what has not been paid. And by May of 2026, if we have not paid everything or even part of it, we would need to be sure to let them know that we will ensure that it will be paid by the 15th of July, 2026. So next year's budget cycle. So this is certainly unexpected, and typically something that we would have a conversation about using our unassigned fund balance retention. We have used the majority of that unassigned fund balance retention for other reasons that we will talk about a little bit later on, but we had that hearing, and for athletics co-curriculars, pre-K, couple of teacher positions and so forth. 1.1 roughly, a little bit more than that million was used already. So we, after talking with our attorney and after talking also with our accounting firm, the one who does our audits, they believe that, or we can resubmit the DOE 25, the MS 25, and use last year's, because this was a cost from last year, technically, we can use last year's surplus of $139,490 to reduce this debt. And then also we do have almost $32,000 still left in the unassigned fund balance retention, which we could use for this purpose. We would, of course, need to have the board want to move forward and take that, approach if you wanted to, because we would have to have a public hearing to explain how that would be used. And we should be having those public hearings to spend those funds before we spend those funds. So, which is fine. I mean, we can do different types of payments, but in the end, if we were to take those two numbers, we'd have about $415,000 remaining, a little bit less than that. We are not in a position to just pay $414,000. We don't see that that's going to be the case. We are in the most, I would say, lean time we've been in since I've been here. And the only options you would have if you were going to try to pay for that sooner would be to start chipping away at the educational side of things and what we're dedicated to offering our children. I don't think that's the right thing to do in this case because there is another option. This is not a situation that we created. I think that, and we definitely can. Our attorney indicates that, as a matter of fact, made the suggestion to put it in the default budget for next year because they did give you the opportunity to do that. They knew that the districts would have difficulty. If I have the list of all districts and what they owe, and some of those districts are in rough shape. And so this would be something that they would most likely end up doing if they didn't have an unassigned fund balance retention. Some of them are using the unassigned fund balance retention that they have. We no longer have that. So this is what happens when we have budget years like last spring. So my suggestion, and unless the board directs otherwise, is to go forward into this budget year and take that 413,000 and put that into the default budget or whatever is remaining. If we find that we have some situations, for instance, like an out of district placement might either move or age out, as sometimes that happens, or goes to a less costly placement, we could then take some of that and pay as we go through the year. Certainly, if we find that we have that much money toward the end of the year, we can pay that off, and then that wouldn't be an issue. But we have that backup in place, and so that's the idea there. It's not the best. None of this is great. We don't have a choice, and it is something that we are responsible for. We are. I'm grateful to Carrie for really managing that budget tightly last year, especially toward the end. I know it was not an easy last 4 months in particular that we had a surplus still of 139,490. Well, I didn't think we would even have 10,000, but we did, and that's a fair amount of money to be able to offset some of these costs. So that's great. Traditionally, we have a surplus that could handle that. This is not a typical year. So that's an awful lot to predict at this stage in the game.
Could I ask you before you go further?
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt your presentation.
No, that's
Could
a
I
good
ask
place
you
start.
to zoom in so that just those numbers are larger, just so that, yeah, thank you, and putting it central so that, I know sometimes on the Zoom, it can have a different effect with the
Mhm.
thing, so thank you. So I just want us to sit with those numbers and just see them a bit.
Mhm. This will also, I've an article for the newsletter that's going out. We do talk about this so that all people who receive mail in, or all homes, I guess you could say, that receive mail in Jaffrey and Ringe will get this exact information right here. Because we don't expect everyone to be watching tonight.
Normally, I would like Ruben to continue the whole conversation, his whole presentation, and there is more, but this is such a traumatic thing to our district, that I think it's probably fair to open it up to questions now. Is that okay with the board? Okay. Does anybody have, I think, Chris, were you raising your hand for it first?
Yeah, John can go first.
And I
Okay.
just, I have Carrie Shields here, CFO, in case there's some questions that need to be directed her way, like all of them. But anyway,
I know, right?
Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna move back.
yeah.
Ruben, you said that there were a number of school districts throughout the state that are being charged. How many did you say there were?
Well, there are about 90 school districts and communities, so at least 65 to 70 school districts.
65. So based on the numbers that I heard, and I may have heard wrong, it sounds like we're getting charged about like a big chunk of this shortfall, like 10% or something. Did you say that it was the school care shortfall was about 5 million? Statewide?
That's what they're in the hole, that they need to get back to about 30 million of reserves.
Yeah,
And I think that's even low. I think they would prefer to be upwards of 35 to 40.
Okay, so they're trying to recoup
They're
some
recouping.
35
Yes, they're
million.
trying to, yes.
Okay. So that brings me to the main question I have. I can understand a situation where the rates that they charge is tied to their expenses. That, is
Mhm.
not an unnormal kind of agreement. But to be in a situation where they can retroactively charge us this much money and give us a deadline for it, it seems kind of like a bad deal. Or a bad agreement.
It would seem to be a very bad deal. There were a lot of questions that were asked to that at the Zoom meeting that we had, or relative to that. For instance, why are we finding out now? Why after the first year did we not know? Then after the first year, why was that not, whatever the behavior was, why was not changed? I do know that they have actuaries and they've gone with what those individuals have said would be likely. But they were wrong 2 years in a row with whether it be the number of claims or just the cost of the claims. Obviously, it turns out to be cost, but I think, prices everywhere are going up on everything. So healthcare would not be any exception. Yes.
I printed it out and it comes to $30 million when you look at how much they're assessing everybody. So, huge.
Yes. Yep.
They have, on their website, they note 2 public hearings that they're having to talk about the rate setting. Those public hearings are on Thursday, October 16th, and Friday, October 17th. The October 16th is at 5 p.m. where the fair funding is at 6 p.m. So people can do both. The Friday public hearing on the 17th is at 10 a.m. So those would be virtual meetings that people could attend to learn more about their reasons for doing this.
Thank you. Could you state those times again?
Yeah, so if you go to schoolcare.org.
Okay.
Thursday, October 16th at 5 p.m. there's a public hearing. Friday, October 17th at 10 a.m. there's a public hearing.
So Friday, the 16th, Thursday, the 16th at 5 p.m. and the 17th at
Yeah.
10.
There's a lot of questions about this.
Yeah.
This is very, very sudden for a lot of us, for everybody. No, not even a lot of
And
us.
can I just ask, why is it that the town uses school care? Curious. Is
Because
that-
there's only, there's only so many limited pools of health trusts that we can get into, and school care is one of them. A lot of the towns use school care.
Mhm.
Ringe does not, as far as I know.
So you don't have to be a school district, obviously.
No.
Yeah.
No, but I think it is just schools and municipalities.
And there are more, I believe, who do use it, but if they've just come on board, they would not be included in this
Right.
expense. So if they came on board in the last year, I think they would be exempt from this.
When you go to shop that, John, whether you go to Harvard Pilgrim, you go to school care, or you go to Cigna, or whatever you're shopping.
Yeah.
Whatever, you can get the best deal for your district or your town.
Yeah.
John is good.
A 139,490 surplus,
Mhm.
that is my additional surplus after the unassigned fund was determined.
Yes,
And our talk had been to.
the net
determine-
is after the net, the 5% of the net assessment
Okay.
Yeah.
So
afterwards.
then, my next, so I guess at this point in time, I would say I don't have a problem with 139 based on where it came from, but taking any more out of the unassigned fund balance, I think we should wait because it's not going to have that much of an impact, and we don't know where we stand. Two meetings ago, I thought Carrie said that we had a $2.5 million surplus. Plus, it wasn't all accounted for, but at that point in time, we did from unpaid salaries. So the bottom line is, I think that our best option is to wait to see where we stand financially before we make any other commitment to paying this particular.
So you're referring to the 31,997? Is that what you're saying we should hold on to?
Yeah, because I believe we're gonna have much more than that available to spend in the, May, June time period. If we don't, it'll still be there, but if we do, why use it?
Chris?
Yeah, I just was wondering, Ruben, and I'm maybe Lisa, maybe know more. Is there obviously it's been in the news. It sounds like there's some hearings. Is this final, or could this be challenged? Right? It sounds like school care said, this is what we owe, this is what we decided, here's our payment schedule. Is this something, given the number of communities and districts that are affected by this, that could be challenged? So maybe that number comes down or the payments get spread out, or is this seen as like, per the agreement, this is final? Or, maybe we don't know. I could just see this being something that could be challenged somehow.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. They certainly made it seem very fun.
Oh, yeah, of
Yep.
course, right? Yeah, that's a
Um,
good strategy,
And
but
the attorney did not seem to think that we did not ask the attorney
Right.
if anyone, he thought there was a legal problem with school care doing this.
right.
I suppose there could be some challenge to it. Maybe the challenge could be more in the time frame. that-
Yeah,
They have
I
to
guess
pay us
any
back.
portion of the
Yeah.
terms, right? I
Right.
think,
So I think that's certainly possible.
I mean, even if it's something as small as like interest rates, right? It's like, come on, like you're gonna start charging us interest after 90 days for.
Well, I think that, and Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, because Carrie asked that question actually at the meeting about the interest rates, why are we being punished this way?
Yeah.
You go, girl.
And they indicated that's a good question. And then they indicated that they had to they're having to borrow funds, or they have to, have some sort of a bond or something like that. And which I believe includes interest after a certain point.
So I'm not really a proponent of paying interest, but I'm wondering for our cash flow, if we'd be better to take that 585 and just divide it by 8, and that's what they get each month. That would help our cash flow. Is
Or could we do a warrant article? I mean, it's terrible, but I mean, we owe the money and maybe the town just wants to pay it. I don't know.
Well, we wouldn't be able to do the warrant article until March. And this is money that has to be paid. And it can go into the default, or it would go into the default budget if we were going to budget for it for next year.
And I think if,
Along with,
Yeah.
it's important just for a preview as we go on, along with on average for school care, 16% increase in
For next year.
for next
So
year.
this covers last year and this year.
Yes,
Next year, they're expecting a 16% increase. To cover that. So-
average. So we could be
Yeah.
a 16, we could be a little higher, we could be a little bit lower. Most of the time, we've been a little bit lower. Last year, we were a little bit higher. We've been at 16% for a long time.
To get back to Sandra's point about splitting it up, would divvying up the money to pay over 8 months be even a feasible thing without cutting positions? Like, is that even something that we would have the money each month to? If we're already, I think last session, you guys said that we were already in the December timeline for the budget that was spent. So is that even something that would be reasonable?
Right, so we have two different issues if we do this. So if we split it out over 8 months, then we're also incurring those expenses this year and we can't exceed our voter approved appropriations. So we would have to not spend somewhere else. And that's if we started paying this year, above and beyond the 139,000, if you approved using that money from last year to pay that amount. So anything above and beyond that is going to have to come from reducing expenditures somewhere else this year. Cash flow, I think, is going to be tricky no matter what we do, because if we wait until next year to pay this, we have to pay it by July 15th. Otherwise, all claims will stop being paid. So it's going to be a hit either way from a cash flow standpoint.
Did you just say otherwise all claims will stop being paid?
Cigna will stop processing all claims if we don't pay the balance in full by July 15th.
Wow.
and isn't the issue with potential warrant article that if we put out a warrant article and it gets voted down, then we can't
Yeah.
pay it, or is
Well, there's
that?
no reason to
there's
do
no
a
rea-
warrant
But
article.
even if we
because-
were, I think
Yeah.
that would be the risk. If it gets voted
Yeah.
down, then we can't pay it. And then we're in that situation where, we're not getting it.
Yeah, no means no.
The
Good.
default
Sorry, we're not
seems to
done
be
yet.
the right place for it.
Can you zoom it back up?
Oh, you want me to zoom back up?
We're not done yet.
Okay.
So before we continue, let's go, Charlie made a suggestion, because let's do this now. Whether we vote or not, that's okay, let's just get a temperature. Charlie made a suggestion that we hang on to the almost 32,000 from the remaining unassigned fund balance, meaning no hearing. Also using the surplus, but hanging on to that 32,000 for any emergencies that come, since we're the beginning of October and winter is coming. That seems reasonable to me. Any input on this one? Any other input on this?
I think that's good.
Yeah, I don't think that the $30,000 and, that interest that we're gonna pay on that is probably not worth, not having it one way or the other.
All right, does the board feel confident with the plan to hang on and not pay the full amount now? Pay the interest and use the 139,490 surplus to offset the 585,000. Charlie?
Do we have to pay interest on anything before July?
Yeah, I think starting in January, we start paying
January
interest.
1st,
Yeah,
0.5% of what remains.
0.5 per month.
That's my understanding.
yeah. Do we have a number on that?
Yeah. So I think that Charlie's idea is a good idea because we don't know. Also, the 32,000, the interest on that would be calculated pretty quickly, but that's, not as large a hit. And I also think that the right place for this is in the default budget. So if it is legal to put this into the default budget, that's where this expense belongs.
It would have to go into the default budget if we had not paid for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just think that as we get through this, into this process, we're gonna see how much these increases that we're gonna have to get, and I think, we'd be making a mistake if we didn't look for ways that we could pay as much down this year as we can, rather than pushing it out into next year. And it may be difficult, but I think we should keep our mind open for that opportunity and not just assume it can go into the default, because we're gonna be happy if we can be rid of, this problem by the end of the year if possible, rather than, inflating that budget. We started to hear some numbers, a 16% increase. I'm sure we're going to be talking about other things that are going to go into that default to make it difficult. So, I don't know how nobody knows, right, how realistic it is. I think we all acknowledge it'll be difficult this year, but if we can do it, we should do it.
I'm sorry. Did you say 5% starting in January or 0.5?
0.5.
That's $2,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can cover that if we need to. On the 414.
Yeah, it's about 12 to
That's
13
$2,000 on the 414.
Let me ask this then. I'm looking at this 139,000 and looking at winter coming. Do we need to hang on to that too?
We can't.
We can't. We have to give something.
No, the reason why we can do that is because the cost came in last year.
That's right. It was last year's
Yeah.
budget
Mhm.
surplus. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
When would we have to do that by?
Right now.
I was gonna say, I imagine
Like
soon.
90 days. The 90 days and then they start charging interest.
No, I mean,
Yes,
when
so-
would we have to take that surplus and allocate it to this?
So this discussion leads us to the discussion of the DOE 25 and the MS 25. Because that money would have gone back to taxpayers, the board needs to be able to decide tonight so that I can have those returned and modified. So that basically it's 2 line items that'll change and I have to have it resubmitted. Otherwise, they won't be able to finalize taxes.
So that sounds like something that we need to vote on tonight.
So if we want, we can do it right now. I think the board is in alignment. All right. Do we have a motion to use the $139,490 surplus from the 2024-25 school year? And to go toward paying the school care membership pool charge?
Is that good enough for what you need for the MS 25 and DOE 25, or do you need something else?
I think I'll need just the board to ratify those later.
Okay.
And we can bring it up and I'll show
Okay.
areas that have changed.
Yep.
And do we need to say something like and allow the superintendent to expend these funds? Okay, no, I know sometimes I don't. All right, do we have a motion? Thank you,
I'll take
John.
that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Judy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Vote passes 700. Thank you, everyone. All right.
Before we move away from this topic, and as we head into budget season, I've heard that some school districts in our area have a health care trust fund. And is that something that we should consider so that we're paid for through any surpluses? End of the year surpluses, and for instance, Conval uses it to offset large increases in health costs, healthcare costs, and it's just something we can think about as we move forward into budget season.
That sounds like a very good warrant article to have on, to consider.
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago, they had $1 million increase or $1.1 million.
Yeah, that sounds like a very, right now, that sounds incredibly reasonable. All right, Ruben, do you have anything else in your superintendent's report?
So, yes. So, as part of this fun year, we had to make some decisions about staffing, and we'll look at that a little bit later on in this. Is that we are operating right now without a facilities director, and so primarily Carrie and I are working in tandem with one another. We do have other individuals helping us. And certainly we have a great facilities and grounds department. And we've been doing pretty well. But there are things that we need to keep on working on, and we need to keep on fixing things. We can't let something go for, the course of a year. So in the summertime, we identified what I would call like the really must to-dos. And so the RMS pre-K ramp, which we've talked about for a couple of years, it's in really disrepair. It needs to be, it's really getting close to not being ADA compliant. Maybe it's not at this point in time because of the materials. Also the railing at the old entrance of the RMS, the very front of the building, if you were to look at it from the street, but it's not used very much, but it is used for individuals, children with some disabilities over at RMS, and that area has an ADA compliance issue. And then if we were to go down the hallway this way and say, hey, let's like put a pause on this board meeting, let's shoot some hoops out at the outside basketball court, we would walk onto a platform that is seeing the end of days. So we would like to get all of that fixed. And we can do that, and we can do that, I think, relatively soon. We have a great partnership with Hutter. Hutter's been wonderful. They have made some quotes. We just don't have right now. I think they're busy. The timelines just aren't there. We went onto the state bid site and found Monadnock Commercial Builders. We had not been using them in the past. We called them up. They came, they gave us some quotes, and I believe have the availability to do this. And so and the quotes were comparable, maybe a little bit less than what we had with the other organization. And we would like permission to use the maintenance trust fund in the tune of, I believe all of that work right there comes on like around $32,000, but just, not to surpass 40,000 would be a good motion. While you think about that, something else to think about, and we've been talking about moving forward and doing other projects like JGS windows, eventually the RMS windows. There are portions at both schools that really should be looked at sooner than later, and we'll work on that. We were ready to kind of go this past summer, but it takes a while to get the windows. It takes a while for people to be able to commit to working. So we have to wait a little bit longer. That also said, we have a track that is needing to, the cycle's up. It's time to do some reconstruction. Now, the company that built that, Cape and Island Tennis and Track, they did the 2 years later, probably 10-year resurface, and then some patching along the way as well. We had them come out. They have won the bid, or they are one of the preferred vendors in a group that we are members of, the Omnia Partners Purchasing Cooperative, that allows us, if we go with those individuals, not to have to put out, all that time getting 3 bids and so forth. This company has done it for us. So, and it's not like there are a ton of tennis and track companies out there. but they were, we emailed them last Thursday or Friday. We set up a meeting for today. They came out and walked the track. There was some good news. They feel that the foundation actually is really quite good and that they can't just strip the top off and put something else on because the age of it, they said that actually would cause you problems. You'd have a lot of bubbling and so forth. But there's an in-between step that they can take. In a week or two, they're going to give us those quotes. We told them that they could start if we were to have everything approved and the price was in our range for what we had within our trust fund. And below, which would have to be below what Gale and Associates quoted us when they came in and did an assessment of all of our athletic spaces. That we could start perhaps mid-May, just before the state track meets, which would be held somewhere else anyway. And starting at that time frame is a preferred time frame to be able to get
What it was.
well, to be able to get someone to actually come in and do the work, because everyone's fighting for the exact same time frame as when you're building tracks or refurbishing them or what have you. So hopefully by the next board meeting, I'll have information for you about reconstruction of the track. And we asked them for some other alternatives as well around mats for the pole vaulting and also hurdles, because we have a really great track. We have an 8-lane track. A lot of places don't have 8-lane tracks. They have 6-lane tracks. And so we don't actually have enough hurdles for the 8 lanes. And if we did, we could have more individuals using them at the same time within our competitions. So that's just an aside little element, but those are a couple examples of things that we're looking to do. Some more immediate, some in the late spring.
So we do want to do a motion for the Monadnock Commercial Builders, but I'm also seeing that there's 5 more slides. Would it be okay to wait till the end? I wrote it down. I'm just so nervous about what's coming.
It's all money tonight. It's all money. So budget development, things to consider. So I know you're going to have conversations tonight about a lot of things and goal setting and things of that nature. This is a picture of us at a earlier budget meeting. I gave Keene Sentinel staff, Hannah Schroeder will give her credit. She took the picture and was in the paper. I just happened to have it. And that was after the budget had gone down last year. So we're in the process. We've kind of put all of our processes. We've started them sooner. Meeting with different groups, talking about what to budget for, what not to budget for, and so forth. So we know from a curriculum standpoint, as we had conversations around assessment results and wanting to improve, learning outcomes, that we made a big investment in ELA curriculum and professional development. We continue to invest that way. And we're good this year for the curriculum. Next year, we're going to have to start to budget for some more curriculum materials and the continued professional development for ELA. And then math, we are, wow, I got some numbers there, 28, 207, 207. It's supposed to say the 2027-28 budget, basically saying we believe right now that we will focus on professional development first while doing some pilot programs and research, and making sure that we have our practices in a good place, or at least a good start to, especially at the elementary level. Elementary through K-8 is what we're talking about here. And to have a proposal to the board for the following year of curriculum materials. So we're spreading this out over a period of time. So not hitting the budget, because when new curriculums hit budgets, we know that it's in the tune of hundreds of thousands. So just to be aware, as we think about this year's budget, we should be also at the same time thinking about next year's budget, because we had quite a season this past spring. And that has ramifications. I think the word consequences is there. We also have to consider the revised Ed 306s, the minimum standards. There are changes to what has to be taught. So some of that can be done without increasing the budget. But it's going to involve changing the budget. We don't know yet whether we have to increase or decrease or anything of that nature. It's just about what has to be taught, what doesn't have to be taught, etc. Over the next 2 years, the district, looking at sustainability and forward movement, needs to be thinking about how the SAU staff is going to be made up. Like, what's your structure? We've been operating in the SAU for a while with, with a understaffed. I'll just put it out there. And that if you were to go to the school to this, to your left, the school to your right, school up north, all of them have a very different, they'll have a superintendent, they'll have an assistant superintendent. Some of them have a superintendent, assistant superintendent, human resource director, human resource manager. They all certainly have facilities directors and so forth. Right now, and then there might be, depends on what the size of the district, might have a separate curriculum person as well. So over the last, certainly 8 years, 7 to 8 years, my position has overseen and been the major part of the human resource director type role. I have a background in that, so I can do it. I also oversaw the majority of the curriculum work and the movement that we made. We have lots of great people who are very strong in curriculum and stronger than I am now, but at one point in time, that was not the case. And so we have moved, and so that's been part of the role. Obviously, we're working on facilities right now and the superintendency and lots of things, keep on changing. It's going to be sustainable. You're going to have to either find someone with all of that who is willing to put the time in and deal with a lot of stress, or you're going to have to figure out what is going to be the best approach to staffing. And I'm talking just in that area right there. It's going to be more expensive. Unless you decide to try to do it without, and that won't go well. We also, it's just something that I think the board needs to have conversations about. You don't have to make decisions right now, of course, but you should want to talk about what it is you're going to have as a stable setup that is going to be supported year in and year out, and not have the fluctuation from year to year. That's a recommendation. And then the future direction of the school district, we need to have those conversations. We've done a lot of great work. We've done work that other people would wish they could have been part of. And we're poised to continue to improve. But there is no, what's the term? There's no fat. There's no extra. I mean, we've got, I know we gave up a middle school position last year, and that's changed the dynamics of, our flexibility within those areas, and they wouldn't be able to withstand another. The high school, anything that would be cut from here on out, you're talking programming. So what is it you want for programming? As we go down the road, what do you want for extracurriculars and co-curriculars? A simple look at the budget knows that we're going to cut this or we're going to cut that is only going to get you $100,000 to $150,000 really in any savings, and at what cost? When we know that schools that are high achieving after many years, because it takes a while to get there, the high achieving all have very robust extracurricular and co-curricular offerings. It's important. We had Jaden, our last student representative, talk about a couple examples within robotics, for instance, of people who getting scholarships or accepted to school as a result of their co-curriculars. Something they did 2 or 3 hours a week had sometimes more weight than what they did 6 hours a day. And when we look at the percentage of the entire budget, it is like that much, but it means this much. So all of these things will here before we go too deep into a budget cycle and have the principals and technology and everything do a lot of budget work. What is it that's going to be supported? That's going to make a difference, because it's easier to make those adjustments now than afterwards, because then afterwards it's reacting. And these are just reminders. When we had the $3 million reduction, now in fairness, it's not a $3 million reduction from last year's budget. It's a $3 million reduction from what the board proposed to be the budget. All right. Now, there's a reason why they proposed more, because within that proposal, there was, there were necessary costs. The community had already said, yes, we have 3 years of a JREA contract. We had 3 years of a JRSSA contract. All of that together was about $1 million higher. So you already start off that much higher. That's why when we consider like, oh, it's a cut, it is a cut, because that was already voted and expected to be part of it, even though it is rising costs. So right now, we don't have a paint and flooring cycle, $120,000 removed. So there is no work facilities being planned for this year. That at some point, we probably could get away with another year not doing that. Or at JGS, we're going to have to do a couple rooms on the flooring. That's going to have to be done. But apart from that, you could probably get away with that. Print materials, we reduced, non-contractual professional development. I don't know if we can get by with 75,000 less, but we can still probably keep it lower. We already had a conversation about athletics, co-curricular costs, and of course we extended that for the year using the funds that we would have used had we not had this situation. We would have used to probably the board would get to choose to use them for the debacle with school care. Now, summer programming, in talking with the principals, apart from some credit recovery here at the high school, middle school, I think summer programs would not be a priority. That would include summer transportation and so forth. Field trips, obviously, field trips are a priority. We've had a lot of people providing support for us. So individual community members or parent groups, or I just found out this past week that there was a donor that has worked with the Harris Center to be able to fully fund all of the Harris Center work in both elementary schools. That's great. That's wonderful that we have people who care that deeply about our children and are providing those experiences. It's not a sustainable approach to doing things. There's, a director position. This is a old slide, so the athletics piece is there, but we were going to take out an assistant principal. We kept the assistant principal, we moved a director position instead, so that we could keep the elementary schools moving forward. Feeling that the core of this district is about education and being with the learners. We saw that the universal 4-year-old pre-K has a cost that was implemented. So examples of like, what do you want to see? What are you willing to support? What do you value? Maybe universal 4-year-old pre-K, which is not required by law. Maybe that's something that you're like, well, we can do it for half. We can do, we'll do a waiting list. We'll go backwards to where we were before. You could make that decision. I'm saying that I do not recommend it. I think that's unfortunately, it's an investment that we've talked about needs to be seen through for 10, 12, 15 years to see the outcomes. And the research that is out there on it has all shown to have high outcomes as a result, but you got to wait and be patient. We don't have this position anymore. We did reduce some unified arts in the area of technology, although we're going to have to look at those 306s again because they changed things up on us this year. Doesn't mean we need to add staff. We just need to consider how curriculum can be taught. The general music, we didn't add that one back. We originally did, but that person moved on to another district. We added the library back. So that position isn't going to be in the default budget. Co-curriculars aren't going to be in the default budget. Pre-K is not going to be in the default budget. All right. So all of that together, think about all that $1.1 million. That $1.1 million, if you want all of that, which includes the French teacher as well, all that is added to the proposed budget automatically. What is added to the default budget next year is the 16% in health insurance for the JREA group, because that's a negotiated contract. So that will be, probably a couple $100,000 there. Definitely the third year of the JREA contract, which last year it was $540,000 that was put in. It would probably be closer to $560,000, $570,000 this coming. So that's going to be automatically, that will be in that default and in the proposed. We had a conversation earlier tonight about $500,000, a little bit less than that, having to do with school care. There are other areas too. We reduced by a groundskeeper. We probably aren't going to propose to put that back in. Carrie did an amazing job finding some support. We're gonna get a robot at a really great price so that our grounds person can work on one field while the robot lines the other fields and doesn't need multiple people and so forth. So we're trying to make this work and be sustainable and still have a good product. Custodians, we certainly could use them, but I don't see us putting that back in. This actually, administrative assistant to the assistant principal, this is not in the default budget, even though we saved the position for this year. We did that through paying early for the buybacks last year, just enough to cover that piece right there. So these areas right here, plus that position, you're talking about 1.2 million that is not in there. Now, maybe some of that can be reduced. That is possible. But I just want us to have all the facts out there, all the numbers, all the realities before getting into any conversations about what the future holds. Not as uplifting a session, but it's real, and we need to talk about what's real. And so this is good. On a more uplifting, I'll give you a little preview just to shift the conversation real fast. This is going out this next weekend, talking about the school funding fairness opportunity that's coming up next week. Our School of Excellence, with a little bit of a highlight of the sign that went out there from the group that came in here, the Working Together for Jaffrey Ringe. It looks really great out there, and we're happy about that. I know there's other conversations going on with select boards, and I'm sure that will be ongoing. Whoops, it should say health instead of Heath. That's unfortunate. We'll see what we can do about that. And then an exciting bit, this is a little bit like thanking community members for providing scholarships and so forth, but empowering learners through electrical apprenticeship. Kim Baker, our school counselor, our the head of school counseling, was able to find this ATS organization where we have individuals who are going and doing this internship online, and that's about $1,000 per individual. They get 150 hours toward their journeyman's license. So about a quarter of the way through, upon graduation. We do have the Jaffrey Wrench Education Foundation. You haven't received it yet, but they have had their meeting and have indicated that they would like to give 3,000, or enough for 3 people to be able to do that. So those are just some examples of things that are going on. Now I'm going to text Kristen right now about Heath.
While you do that, are there, I'll let him focus on that. Let's just start with the motion. It sounds like there's no other motions for any action items in this presentation. So let's just do the Monadnock Builders one for up to $40,000. Is there a motion to expend up to $40,000 to allow the superintendent to expend up to $40,000 from the maintenance building fund toward the ramps work through builders, community builders? John, do you make that?
Yes,
motion?
I do make that motion.
Thank
I
you.
believe it includes the ramp in
RMS.
RMS, the platform out here leading out to the basketball courts, and there was a third item with
Railing?
the railing.
Yep, repair 2 existing rails, paint and re-grout the railings. There's a gable vent in there. That was not on my original thought process. We can check that out if it's a necessity or not. But the ramps are the big ones, that ramp and this ramp over here in Conan. Yep.
And the motion is to allow you to spend that
Mhm.
from the building maintenance
Yes.
trust fund up to a maximum of 40,000.
Yes.
Do we have this money in a trust fund?
We have 696,000 in that trust fund. That would be what we would use for the track as well, if that comes back at a reasonable cost.
Just making sure it's
Yeah.
there. Okay, awesome. I second it.
Thank you, Judy. All in favor?
Can we have
Aye.
a quick
Oh,
discussion?
do we want more discussion? Sure. Yeah.
Are these? So I'm remembering through our facility meetings over the years that there have been problems with the ramp at the preschool at RMS. Remember, there was the empty tank underneath and it collapsed.
Yes, I thought
Is
that
this
was
the
what we're
same?
talking about.
It's the same ramp
Yeah, the ramp.
Yeah.
after all this time.
One part of it, there were two sections of that ramp. One was redone,
Okay,
and the other one, I don't know why the other one wasn't redone. I know the other one was very expensive, and there was a lot of work that had to be done because they had to put footings in, and I think that they also had to do some digging, that there was something underneath the ground
was
that
a
they
tank
needed.
that
There was a
was too deep
tank that was,
to collapse.
that collapsed in there, so they had to take that out. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
I had the exact same thought because I remember this conversation years ago. So is this going to be, are both of these ramps going to be completely done then?
yes,
Great answer.
yes.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. Thank you, Judy. All in favor or any further discussion? Sorry. I didn't look this way. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Passes 700. Thank you, guys. Now, to Ruben's report, let's have some discussion. John? Did you?
Yes, I would just start off by saying thank you for going through that list of, let's say, shortfalls or needs that we've intentionally left unfilled. And, we've done it because we know that our costs are high. We're trying to keep our taxes down, but the facilities director, that we don't have the curriculum director, which I guess you, Ruben, and some of the other leaders in the district who we have now brought along with fulfilling that role. The personnel, assistant personnel director, assistant superintendent position that we don't have, which we had prior to your arrival. We had a technology consultant who, at one point, we let that position go.
We did.
Communications director, which we've also eliminated. And we've lost our career and technical education program for the moment. We hope to bring it back. Obviously, we don't have a career and tech ed program at this point in the sense that we had hoped to have. And these are all things that, given taxes, as I guess we can understand them. But what I hear you saying, I think, is that we now need to make choices, and we need to make choices going forward. We know that staffing is going to change. Leadership is going to change. This is what happens in any district. And it feels like the community caught up in their concerns, their understandable concerns about taxes, is not aware of just how fortunate we've been to make the advances we have over the past 10 years. When I think of what the New England Association of Schools and Colleges said 2 years ago, when they completed their accreditation of our district, they said we were the model for the state, that they've never found a group that has made as much progress, a school that is a district that's made as much progress as SAU 47. The award from the Eddies group of Conant as the School of Excellence. I know people hear this, but they don't know its significance, the significance of these things. We've talked about Conant being rated 9 out of 10. I even forget the organization that did it, but I know that some of our local
Great schools, great schools. It's the one that real estate agents usually use.
So, I mean, I really congratulate and thank the Working Together Jaffrey Ringe group for what they've done to try to raise the awareness of our schools. I think there's a lot more work to be done. We tried to schedule a meeting with the selectmen of Jaffrey on September 24th, that one of the selectmen couldn't be there and they asked us to postpone it. So we moved the meeting to October 8th, and we had that scheduled. We were on the agenda. And then the selectmen decided that, for reasons that, I'm sure were important to them, that they're going to move their meeting to noon instead of 6 p.m. Don't know what those reasons were, but it's hard. It's hard to get in and to try to get the attention of our local community. And I know our goal was to talk to these leaders and try to make the points that you've been making, which is that we have a school district that's come a long way, and it could go back a long way in the other direction if we don't care for it.
Thank you, John.
John, we need to add to your list of positions that we've eliminated that at one point in time, we had a full-time athletic director and a full-time activities director. And then we've required one person to do both and expand the program substantially.
Something Ruben said about that, and he said it before. I think I don't know if people hear it because we all hear things, but what's the significance? The director of co-curriculars, who's handling both clubs and sports, the difference those 3-4 hours after school make to our students, it's huge. It's huge. And I think most thinking people, if you sat down and talked with them about the impact that has on kids who spend all day in class and maybe don't have anything useful or, motivating to do after class, and how this gives them that, it gives them a connection to the school, makes them want to come to school the next day so they can participate on the teams or in the clubs. I think most people would understand that, but most people don't have the time to really even think about these things. And so thank you for mentioning that element, because that's a big one too. Very good.
Any further discussion on the superintendent's report?
Just, are we gonna have our kind of board goals, school board budget guidance later, or is that now? Later, okay, perfect.
All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. We have manifests, payroll, budget transfer to the Spalding Youth Center. Yeah, could you open that one up, please? Okay, it's a residential service. Okay, thank you.
Yep, so it's taking it from a variety of lines, putting it to one. We have nominations for one-to-one paraprofessional Miranda Fry at CMHS and a night custodian at CMHS, Khaled Mandor. So thank you guys for doing that. Any chance either of those came through that open house thing that we had where you had an open hiring time? I don't know about Miranda. I can't remember.
Okay.
But Khaled actually has worked with us before. Had to leave for a period of time, and we're very happy to have him back. He's here tonight.
Wonderful.
First night back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Khaled.
Yep.
Okay. We have a stipend list acknowledgement. And keep scrolling down just so we can see the whole.
And I have the information. No, it was, she was not from the open house.
Thank you. All right, keep scrolling down, stipend list. Okay, so any discussion on the consent agenda? We'll take a motion.
I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Sandra. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Christine. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Passes 7-0-0. Let's move on to the minutes. For September 22nd, non-public meeting. And September 22nd, full meeting. I think the people who were here for them were at both, I believe. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
All right, so we could probably do them both together. Any discussion on the minutes? All right, so we'll take a motion to approve both minutes.
I move we accept the minutes for the non-public meeting and the regular meeting on September 22nd as presented.
Thank you, Sandra. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Christine. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Vote passes 6-0-1. Thank you. Action items, approval of the revised school board calendar. This is a calendar that we presented last week, our last board meeting, and it discusses it goes into the budget was discussed in this, so these meetings coming up will heavily be involved with the budget discussions. I think somebody mentioned the one second, not somebody, the superintendent, I just want to put this out there publicly. Ed 306 had substantial changes to what is not only just necessary for graduation and necessary, but also it changed the timing of different curriculum and coursework. I believe that it heavily affected most the high school, but I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it did. And so one of these sessions, if you look at the last board meeting for in September, it outlined the budget pieces of when different schools were going to be talking about their budget. I am hoping that the CMHS one talks a little bit in detail about the Ed 306 changes. So if you're curious about that, I'm sure it'll come into the budget. But just if you're wondering about those Ed 306 minimum standards changes, I'm certain that's going to be discussed at that CMHS budget meeting. So just kind of keep an ear out for those. All right. Is there further discussion on the proposed calendar? Charlie?
Yes, why are we moving the deliberative to the Pratt?
Okay.
For years, we were doing one meeting in Jaffrey, one boarding meeting in Jaffrey, one board meeting in Ringe every month. And then we alternated the deliberative sessions from Jaffrey to Ringe. Then the board decided that it wanted to hold all of its board meetings in Jaffrey. And in return, it would hold the deliberative session in Ringe. And now we're turning around and taking that away from Ringe. And I just wondered why.
Part of the reason that we did everything in Jaffrey, in fact, what I remember was being on the board at that time when that decision was made, and we voted on that numerous years, was because we updated our communication systems. And having the updated communication systems meant moving a massive amount of equipment, and it had to be transported to Ringe. So we all said that it makes much better sense to stay in Jaffrey with the equipment because it's much more important to have a community presence virtually. And that was before COVID happened. When COVID happened, it was a godsend that we had this kind of a setup. The reason for this year moving the deliberative to Jaffrey is to make sure that our full community is represented in a place that is confident and comfortable and has some pride. We've had numerous, yep, so we have had numerous Ringe residents, sorry, I got fruit fly. We've had numerous Ringe residents come to these board meetings and Jaffrey resident talking to us about their concerns for the presence of a cultural divide, a feeling of hostility at the meetings, and asking us to address that culture. So the vice chair and I, Christine, and I met this summer to address that particular goal, and came back to the board with some suggestions and to Ruben. And we said one way would be to have these information sessions that were publicly done in a school board outside of the budget season. That was one way to make sure we're being transparent with what we offer in the school and how much that costs us to offer. Another way is to create these presentations and design them in such a way that we have these clean videos that can be rerun, and then have the discussions piece of it. Another way is to organize how we address the public. So maybe changing how we not respond to public comments, but maybe having more response to public comments as they happen. And another way was to move the deliberative to Jaffrey, to the building where we have such visible pride, and to really bring the Jaffrey community back into that deliberative process.
You said that there was hostility. I attended that deliberative session. I did not see any hostility. All right. I also attended the post-amended budget meeting in the Pratt that we had. There was more hostility there than there was in Ringe, because you had people from both sides standing up saying why we should cut this or not cut that. Okay. But if I look at what happened in Ringe at the deliberative session, it was very orderly. The moderator had a good meeting. I didn't hear anybody on the floor arguing with anybody else. So I take issue with the fact that you trace hostility to the Ringe meeting and not to the Jaffrey meeting and the Pratt, where we had to try to get people to sit down and stop talking. So I don't think that you're right in that. I think it's a vindictive thing to do, to deprive the people of Ringe of their, of their deliberative session when we don't even bother to go down there during the entire year, except for one time. So I think it's an abomination that we made that change, and I don't support it.
And I agree. I think in fairness, we have to share the meetings between towns. So I agree that we should do some of the meetings in Range as well.
I would just like to say that over a year ago, at one of these board meetings, I suggested that we stop doing what we did during the pandemic, and then we start meeting in Ringe again. And as I recall, Charlie, you were one of the people who said, no, it's okay, let's keep doing it the way we're doing it. As far as where the deliberative sessions go, they are arguably the most important meetings that we have each year. And to have them every year in Ringe and not in Jaffrey, that doesn't seem right to me. So I would not vote for it becoming permanent in Jaffrey, but it's about time we had one in Jaffrey. It's been a good number of years.
I wouldn't oppose moving it to Jaffrey if we go back to having our one meeting in Jaffrey and one meeting in Ringe. We don't get better attendance either place. It's not like we got
I'd be
tons of
okay with
people
that.
at one location and the other. We
Is-
might as well just hold one in one Jaffrey and one in Ringe.
That's a bigger conversation as we have a contract with the production company. And that's definitely a conversation we can have. But having a place to meet in Ringe it might be harder for as far as acoustics. So that might be more difficult. That doesn't mean it's not impossible, same as going to Jaffrey Grade School.
That's the reason originally why we wanted to hold it in the music room, was because of the acoustics.
Right.
Okay, and that's one reason why I said we can keep it here as long as we keep the deliberative session in Ringe.
I notice,
I'm just saying that I think the timing is wrong for us to do something like this. I think it's being done for the wrong reason. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Chris.
no, I just wanted to note that I see there is, if I'm looking at there, the 15th, a meeting in the RMS cafeteria. Is that, I'm assuming based on the timing of that is the budget hearing. Is that correct? That we'll have the budget
Yes.
hearing at RMS cafeteria and then the deliberative session at the Pratt. Okay.
Yeah, the switch here was the budget hearing and the deliberatives. I think it's a good conversation to consider having meetings in Ringe
Mhm.
on a regular basis.
Okay.
I don't think it would change the times, the start times. On if you were to change the locations, as my point throughout to the October, November, I guess December, January timeframes.
So we had already approved the budget calendar, right?
Mhm.
And I think the changes that required were, I think, changing this to 6 PM. Has that, I don't know who does it. Has that schedule been revised? I think the only change from the draft version that we approved at the last meeting was to update the start time to 6 PM. I would just, I don't know if that schedule's out there, but I wouldn't want to get off to a bad start by having our first meeting and having people think it's, at 6:30 and then being a half hour late. So I don't know if that's been done or,
I think it has been.
okay, or I don't know
but
where it is.
Has it? Yeah. It's on the website.
Awesome. Thank you.
the working for Jeffrey and Orange Group because they posted it, and then they did the draft. Which they shouldn't have posted that, but then they went back and corrected those 2 times for the 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Not saying that it doesn't need to go.
No, yeah, I just wasn't.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that yet.
All right, so the budget calendar has been approved. This is the school board calendar, and again, it's all gonna be financial discussions, a lot, it's gonna be heavy. And some including Saturdays, and changes of time. We do need to take into consideration our production company and there's a conversation to add to this. If we want to change and add Ringe into the mix more than the middle high school lobby, I'm going to suggest that we postpone this discussion to each of us take a closer look at this and then come back to this next session to approve with any suggestions on, do we want to go to Ringe every other one? Do we want, when do we want to be in Ringe for this? Or is this practical? I think this conversation really has to include our production company first, though. Having this type of communication is a huge goal for us. We've invested a great deal in this, and as much as we have this time frame, we have to be able to make sure we're keeping the consistency of a quality recording and production. So what I'm going to ask is in that time frame that Ruben and Alex or whoever sit down, discuss what can happen, and the board take a look at what they can see happen, and we come back to the table this board calendar for now. Is that reasonable? Okay, thank you. If I can, I think it's appropriate to bring your piece into it, if that's okay, Alex. So Alex is our production manager. Does that make good sense to call you that for our company? Okay. So he had emailed Ruben and I with a thought on how we present our recordings and our live streams. And right now we use Zoom for it. So, and I will allow you to correct me or fill in the blanks. So right now we use Zoom, and it seems that a Facebook Live option might get us more traction, especially if we do it through the school's website. That's something that would automatically open in people's feeds. It's something that can still have the same recording status. It has the same features that we have. It's just without using Zoom, which is almost feeling clunky and outdated now. It's like there's a lot of other options now, but Facebook Live seems to be one that's working for other school districts, including Keene. You'd mentioned that's working really well for them. I think it's a way of getting us more visibility. And would that be something that the board would be willing to hear Alex talk about?
I don't want Facebook. I mean, and the younger people don't like Facebook. I personally, I haven't been on it in years, and I think a lot of people don't care for Facebook.
Right, but my understanding is this, you don't have to have a Facebook account.
You don't have to have an account to do it.
Right.
Okay, fair
So
enough.
Alex, would you mind terribly, you know, I did a brief thing. Is that okay if we ask him to kind of give us this little spiel? Thank you so much.
So I just proposed rethinking where the meetings are available. And there are multiple options that can be combined as well. Facebook being one, that you have a Facebook page, and I was gonna check, that probably has a few thousand followers. So if a meeting was live streamed to there, it would pop up in people's news feeds as they were scrolling through Facebook at home in the evening. So that would instantly put it in front of some people to maybe check in and see what's being discussed. It also, I believe they've changed their rules, but and they now archive it only for 30 days, but then it would live there for 30 days. So even after the fact, if people were scrolling through Facebook and happened to come across it, they could easily watch it. There's another option with that, where we could also just live stream the meetings directly to the school district's website. So even just going to the school district and clicking on the live stream on the school board page or whatever, would be available there. So if you didn't have Facebook, it's an easier way to maybe view the meeting without needing to have the Zoom app or an account to log in, because that does have a few steps to it to access the meeting. You do lose the ability to have people participate, because through Facebook or the website, it's just a viewing. Think of it like a TV channel. You're just watching the meeting like you would on maybe a public access TV channel. So their question would be if you still wanted to try to have Zoom to allow people to be involve the public in the meeting. And again, there's possibly some ways we could combine some of those options. I know we get, just from doing these meetings, we get a few people that will occasionally comment on something, but usually not. So just something to consider on those options, but just having sat through a lot of these meetings and hearing your discussions about trying to engage with the community more. Not being a member of the community, so not fully understanding how Jaffrey Orange operates, but working with other schools and other communities. And just trying to help you guys maybe engage your community better with some technology. Since you don't really have anyone else on your staff that has the bandwidth to help with that. So.
Right. Can I ask, is there any cost savings? I know Zoom Enterprise costs money.
I don't know if the school district has what they have for a Zoom account, if they're paying for just one, or if you guys have multiple. So I don't know if that would change. I know some school districts have like a site license that they're already paying for, so there might not be a cost savings, but if you're paying for just this one, then there could be some cost savings. We have some live streaming services that we can offer and play to do these things that we've done with other school districts as well. So we could talk about what the costs are, most likely net zero for you, but.
Okay, any further questions? All right,
I have a-
let's.
How many people are watching right now?
We started with 9, we're down to 6. So that's kind of slowly dropped off.
Okay.
So let's table this and come back to it next week after we've thought about it, maybe done a little more research, okay? And we'll make that decision if we want to go forward with this. Before you sign off, I'm really into marketing right now. Could you please name your company?
Sure, yeah, we're AMT Productions, based out of Keene, and have been helping with these school board meetings for, I think, about 2 years now.
Yeah. Yeah, doing an exceptional job. We get a lot of comments on how well the clarity is and visuals and just how important it is for people to be able to review this. So thank you, Alex. Okay, appreciate it. Right. We have 2 policies up from the policy committee. One is talking about a quorum. And could you please open that one up? These are for first reading, so we don't have to have too much discussion on them tonight. Please do read through them. And really what this is a summer update that was a recommended policy update. And it feeds into what Charlie had said last time about, okay, non-public meetings need to be posted at a certain date. All of that is here. This was something that we hadn't, as a policy committee, because we were dealing with the required policies, we didn't get to the recommended ones. And so this is a recommended policy that the policy committee recommends adopting as is. Charlie, you had a question?
Yes, number 2, where it says location, what do you mean by that?
So that would mean where you're calling in from. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, but I mean, do I have to identify people in the room? Do I have to identify the people in the building? Do I have to identify? I
Right.
mean,
Oh, anyone.
So so anyone in the room with you that can hear or see.
makes sense.
Yeah, number 4, yeah. Okay, all right, next meeting. Our next policy, minutes. All right, this is another recommended policy of how we keep minutes and about the public and non-public minutes being kept and how they need to be addressed and opened at certain times and sealed, and this is just the details on that. So again, we don't need to take action on these tonight. It's a first reading, so please do spend some time taking a look at this and just refreshing yourself with these. Reuben, district organizational charts?
These are more for you to peruse and see where things are in existence right now. Usually these are beneficial to the process for budgeting, just to kind of see where we're at and how many FTEs there are and where they all fall in the area. It's important to note, well, it's important for me anyway, to note that even though we have this traditional hierarchical structure, that's not how we function in this organization. We would not survive with with how we have as a hierarchical structure. So we have been able to flourish and expand and improve as a result of our flattened model, which is more of a distributed leadership type of approach. That's how we do business. That being said, this is an organization chart that shows who supervises whom and the relationship that some people have to, or some positions have to another position. This first one right here, the SAU one, this falls in line with the conversation that I had earlier tonight about, over time, over the next several months, we're going to want to have conversations about this very structure right here and what you think that should look like in the future. And then, of course, it's every organization. You can see this is the student services and all that entails. And Leslie was the one who put these and formatted these, and so she put in the vacant positions right now in the area of paraprofessionals. This is this school right here, the middle high school. I think actually one's the middle school and one's the high school. This is the high school org chart. And it is one school, Conant Middle High School, but for the purposes of the Department of Education, they do still keep them as two separate schools. So the funding of these two schools is all
Line items.
yeah,
wise.
all line items will be
Yeah,
different.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's important to know. That's when, like, for instance, last year when a budget season, we talked about Conant being, third from the bottom in the amount funding per pupil in the state of New Hampshire, even though that's happening, having won awards and so forth. Middle school would have been a little bit closer to the middle of it, or the average. Elementaries were a little higher. Not higher than the average, but higher than the. And then Jaffrey Grade School and Ridge Memorial School. I do think out of all of these, if we're going to have a preview of the upcoming budget season as it pertains to structures and personnel, I do think that we will, be interested in looking at the elementary schools where there have been some adjustments last year with like I said earlier, some of those positions are not in the default budget. Are we going to have 2 first grade classes, 3 first grade classes? How are the people going to move around? All that sort of thing. Reading specialists. We don't have a reading specialist right now in Jaffrey Grade School. That's actually required of a school to have one. So how do we add that in there? How do we work with extra supports at some, for instance, at Jaffrey Grade School, where you have a funding stream, a federal funding stream of Title I that is not getting any stronger. Sometimes it's not overly reliable, and the cost that you have to pay out of the Title I budget that comes to you as in a grant the amount you have to pay toward McKinney-Vento, or what we call homeless transportation, or other aspects of homelessness, is growing every year. And so last year, within the district budget and within Title I, we had spent $80,000 in that area that was not budgeted for. And we expect that that's going to be increasing this year, right here, as we've had several agreements shared between other schools that I've signed off on to support learners who are in need. And that is mandatory. It's something we certainly want to do, but it is a cost, and the funds that Title I provide to us are not enough to do everything that really needs to be done, or that we have been doing. So those are conversations that I'm sure we will have.
As we look at this organizational chart, it brings to mind that earlier we were discussing our lack of curriculum director, but yet our shared leadership model was so obvious when we were looking for a new ELA curriculum, and how amazing that model really was in bringing in the principals, guidance to discuss and plan and prepare for the rollout of a brand new curriculum. It's a neat process to see it. Obviously, I think we still need a curriculum director at some point or something along those lines, but it did allow not having one. Having a shared leadership model helped us, I think, really choose a very powerful program that I believe will have a positive impact on our learners.
Thank you. That helps as we go into the budgeting, to just get a visual of who we currently have and who is still needed, and the gaps. Thank you.
Just one item here that I could see could possibly be difficult to understand. It says right here, for instance, superintendent's office 3.5. That, and then it has individuals underneath that. So the superintendent's office, that's like, or the total of those individuals is 3.5. So it has so it's not 3.5 plus another 3.5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. All right, thank you.
I just think a comment on this, as I look through it, it's clear how lean we are, certainly in some areas. I look at like the school org charts, certainly, and you know, it's pretty basic. It's like you have, you know, 50 kids in a grade and there's 2 teachers and that's it. That's clear. And where I think the challenge will be, if anything, in getting everyone to understand and get on board with what we're doing, is there's nothing new here, right? Is explaining the special education piece of it. It's a lot of people, it's complex, it's there for a reason. I think that the more the public understands how important that is and what these people do is if I were to guess where the discussion is going to be, because to me the schools look like any school, right? Any school you would run, that's how you would set it up and run it. Right, and that's the difference between our public schools and private schools. A private school org chart would be, you know, all of those other things without that special education piece. So just think it'll be worthwhile for all of us to be able to understand that and to be able to communicate how important this is and you know, why these positions are there and necessary and the good that they do.
Early indications, if this helps, and this is a little bit off of this topic of organization charts, but still in the whole scheme of our conversation. Early indications would suggest that we may have a $500,000 to $750,000 savings in student services starting off. That might be the actual only area where we might see a decrease from this year.
Is that because
due
of the
to
10 positions I just saw vacant?
not having to
10
do,
plus.
not having to do with any positions.
Okay.
Has to do with other change in placements.
Oh.
And also not increasing placements at the elementary levels
Because of that.
because of other program that we put into place. So,
Okay.
it's not for certain. That's the most volatile to change, you know, it's, it can change from month to month and variety of, you know, a couple different directions, but early indications would suggest that that could take place to offset some.
Any further discussion on the organizational charts? Okay. Ruben, could I please have for the next few pieces, could I have the projector?
Yeah.
Thanks. So for the next few minutes, we have a couple of discussions to have. One is on the norms and expectations for our future board meetings. And another one is on the board goals that Ruben was talking about in his superintendent's report. For a budget direction, but also a district direction. So these are two heavy conversations. I would like to allocate a good 15 minutes for each, if not longer, but let's stop it at 20 minutes and see where we stand, because it is late. Actually, it's not too late just yet. We're doing good. All right, so norms and expectations. A couple of you did send me some ideas on how we can create, again, keep a culture of respect, keep the meetings managed well, change how we've been doing the meetings so that the public feels that they have more say, how we talk with the people presenting, lots of things to consider in this. So does anybody want to start kind of throwing out just a couple of things? We are not right this second agreeing to all of this. We're brainstorming some ideas of what we would like these meetings to look like. They can be a word, they can be full sentences. This is our first work session on kind of creating this culture so that moving forward, the public knows what they can expect from us.
I guess I'd like to see consistency. Right, and a member of the public asks a question, whether or not we respond and how we respond should be consistent, no matter who's asking the question.
Okay. I do think a number of people have said, both board members and public have said, is there some way we can change the formatting so that we can respond right then? And so if we could talk about that for a minute, there are some norms that we would have to have if that were to happen. And a number of us have some ideas on that. So let's talk about consistency. And forgive me my spelling if I get consistency in public comment response. Is that what we're looking at? Okay. I think in general, what people are asking for, is there a way so that when they're asked a question, we can answer right then? I think that's the general thought. Okay. And I did see this week. I watched the most recent Claremont School Board meeting online on their channel. And I just had a real respect for how their board is dealing with these possible issues. And really watched how they felt confident answering right then in a way that really, I thought made the speaker feel respected and heard. And so there's definitely ways to do this so that it's reasonable and doesn't take up everybody's time with any agendas. It's simply, we are going to respond fairly to this. So how does the board feel about changing our policy to include immediate response when appropriate?
So are we changing it from a public comment period to a question and answer session? Is that what you're? proposing?
I think as needed, as appropriate. It's a complicated thing. Yeah, like this, I think is one of the biggest ones we would have to deal with the norms.
So how will you, what are the parameters around responses?
Yeah.
Who's gonna give the response and to what commitment can they make?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think an example of something that can be, it's not like the opinion of the board, right? I think we're getting, if it's just somebody asks, when is this meeting? It's something that's easily answered. And there's been like awkward situations before where we're sitting here like we all know the answer and nobody's saying anything. So I think that those sort of questions that we know the answer to, and they're like factual things, like, even if it's like, what was our budget the last year? Or, something comes up, I think that's perfectly reasonable. I think if it's something asking the opinion of the board that hasn't been decided, I don't think we get into a discussion on that, because that's not something that like one person from the board can answer. It's an opinion of the board that is, undetermined at that point necessarily. So I'm totally comfortable with, the chair, or whoever answering, or whoever may know it, right? Some of us may know it, answering a factual question. I think we need to be careful that it doesn't become like on and on, maybe. But
Yeah.
I think it's a perfectly reasonable thing to do.
Yeah, something that does keep coming up with the school board association is that a board member speaks as a board. That when we're speaking publicly, we are speaking as a board. So I think that aligns with the opinion. We're not, yes, our opinions are important in our discussions, but if we're responding to somebody, then we do speak as a board. So that is something that we want to have as the expectation. Okay, so let's keep going. What other parameters? A parameter I'd thought of, if I get one that I had thought of is, something that I saw last year was that, community members would come up with numbers from a specific line item and question a line item number, and it left, Carrie and others scrambling for, okay, where is that line item? What is that number related to? Like, it was fast. And so rather than verbal, I would like the expectation that if somebody has a line item specific number question, that it's written out, given to us so that it can be answered that time, but then Carrie or whoever's doing it can be on their computer getting those answers. If it's in writing and not just this fast, some of these things happen too fast, and we got to slow it down a little bit, I think. So what I was thinking of, in particular, things like the deliberative, the supervisor of the checklist always have a table, pencils and pens and paper. Like, we can just have these expectations. If you have a line item question, get a piece of paper, write it down, give it to us so that we can get the answer for you and have that response that night. But having this, it just got, it was too fast. It was too scrambly. And it always felt incomplete. I guess that was, for me, it always felt like there's more to this. And it was just too fast to get all the answers. And we were always coming back 2 weeks later. Well, I have the answer to that question from before. So I think if they were in writing with the numbers, particularly the numbers, what do we think about something like that?
Well, I think if we need to do research to get an answer for someone, well, that's reasonable too. So a balance between whether or not we can get the answer conveniently that evening, or if we need to push it out for the next meeting.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. More. What about when somebody comes up, with misinformation? This was a really big topic for the residents coming to talk with us. Numerous times they brought up, how do we address misinformation?
Yeah, I'd say that I received that question quite a bit, like the next day, because I know we do, and I think my approach was to let people say what they had to say.
That wasn't your approach.
Yeah, that was the policy, right? But I certainly received a lot of questions the next day. You know, I would simply say, you know, conversation, that wasn't correct. That was incorrect information for whatever reason. At that point, the damage is really done. And I think it's perfectly appropriate if someone gives a public comment and again has like factual misinformation, like, oh, the budget last year was $40 million. I think it would be appropriate, you know, after that person sits down, if we have a correction, again, sticking to factual and hopefully not getting into a back and forth, right? That's the end of the discussion. I think it's appropriate to correct that, you know, on the spot.
So correcting on the spot.
Just for the benefit of the education of the whole community, not to attack anybody or make them look bad, but I think we owe a responsibility to the community to be sure that the correct information is out there.
So we had a great deal of that exact back and forth. So how do we get there? How do we correct misinformation? A person gets up and says something that's really ludicrous, but it's believed because it's said, right? And maybe it's said angrily, and maybe it's said with justification and righteousness, but it's still incorrect. Or it's not the whole story. It's a piece. How do we address that back and forth? John?
Well, I would say by letting the person have their appropriate time to make their comment. When they're finished, then correcting the information. These public comments periods are not meant to be a back and forth or a debate. And, you know, that it can be hard as the chairperson or the moderator to try and control that, but I think for the most part, we can. And the correction should come after the person is finished speaking.
I would have a suggestion, however.
Yep.
That often or at times misinformation was provided and along with it was inappropriate, I would say, criticism or tearing apart of character. And I think that needs to be stopped immediately. And if the person is not removed, then the board meeting is halted until that person is addressed in whatever fashion is appropriate.
I had a talk last spring with, when I became chair, I called the director of the New Hampshire School Board Association, Barrett Christina, and I talked specifically about that a bit. What are the options? We can't stop, like the public can speak, people can speak, but so I can't just, you know, there's some rules on going forward, both for board members and for the public. What I can do as a chairperson though, is I can recess the meeting for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and we can call an immediate recess. And then we can, come back into public meeting, at the recess, the video would stop. And, and we would get up, we would leave the room, we would not have a public meeting, not have a discussion. It would be a recessed meeting. The meeting would stop for a while. And the intent would be to cool heads. The intent would be to calm the temperature down, come back. Maybe at that point, it might have been something that was a misinformation that we could get corrected at that point. But so I do see that being a very viable option to recess, to be able to get that temperature down. So just misinformation, address. I want to say libelous is the word I'm coming to, because there were some vicious things said last year.
Well, the policy says that you're not allowed to be
No.
mention a staff person by name or by position.
All right, anything else?
But this is where I want to get to. And I'm sorry if I'm. Sorry. We have to make sure that we're being consistent, which is what I started with, because if somebody comes up and uses, mentions a person, a staff person by name or by identifying them through position, but they're saying something positive, we still need to respond.
Yeah.
We need to be consistent in adhering to our own policies.
Yes, and it takes skill, as the chairperson, and you've exercised lots of skill, but still, we all have a lot to learn. I mean, when you have a person, depending on the temperature or their motivation or how upset they are, it can be hard to get them. But by your words, you can call attention to the fact that something shouldn't be said. You can point out not only to that person, but to the rest of the public that it's not okay to mention staff by name. It's not okay to share misinformation.
You have to set your ground rules before you open it up to any of this question and answer stuff. That's the point at which you set the guidelines for whether they can talk about people or not talk about people, whether they can ask questions about facts, whether they'll get responses to opinions. I mean, we need to capture that up front so that we lay out the ground rules specifically before anybody gets a chance to talk.
And there is an art to it, and it's hard to be an artist when you're running a meeting. There is an art to it.
Some of those ground rules should likely contain speaking for yourself, not saying I have someone on my email right now who's not here, I'm going to use their 3 minutes or this person's 2 minutes or whatever like that, which they may or may not have someone on their phone doing that. But a way to circumvent the rulings of the the order and of the board chair.
There's been also someone saying, oh, I'll let, even someone in the room saying, I'll let this person have my.
Yeah, it's not up to.
It's not their.
Not up to the person at the podium to say who gets to go next. That's not.
That's correct.
Right, and a person doesn't get a proxy where they say I'm representing 3 other people, so I can speak 3 times as long.
Yeah.
I understand why they want to do that, but that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, Dante.
Thank you.
Do you have any ground rules that you suggest?
You guys are doing pretty great with that. Arms and expectation. I mean, everything I would have said is already up there.
Awesome.
If
Thanks.
you think of any more, I'm ready for next time. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for being here.
I understand we have a couple of wrestlers.
That's so?
Yeah. We should.
All right, are we missing anything for tonight on this one?
I have something that I'm, I guess, not sure about, but since it's in the brainstorming phase, I'll just put it out there. I know that as a board, we are subject to comment, criticism, and so is the superintendent. If a board member is criticized in a statement and they would like to respond, I don't know if it's appropriate or not. Maybe it should be considered. Again, you don't want to get into a back and forth, but I don't have an opinion
I'm
on
not
it.
sure how to, because if we are saying that everyone needs to be reminded that you cannot say anything disrespectful about anyone, then that person is just stopped. And so by responding, are we continuing that? I don't know. I remember times where I just felt like it got so quickly into a back and forth. That it just was hard to manage. I'm thinking interrupting them and saying, you may not speak about a person. That's not what we're here for. That's not this, I don't know. What do you think, Judy?
One thing I just want to bring up is we have to like separate disrespect from opposing ideas and not think that because somebody is saying something that's different than what our viewpoint is, that they're deliberately trying to disrespect somebody. So it's definitely, like John said, it is an art, but I do think that this is a great first step to making it so that the meetings are going to be more productive because people can express their feelings more. But yeah, anyone who's going to be rude to someone or say something, that's mean against someone or mention anybody's name as you know, like for good or for bad, we should definitely, whether we like what we're hearing or we don't like what we're hearing, we have to treat everybody the same.
Okay, how does this sound? Allow for differing ideas, do not permit rudeness or personal attacks.
Perfect.
Right.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think they can't be allowed. Like, I don't see any situation where saying, no, I'm not like that is gonna help anything. Like, I don't. I think anybody who would come up there and attack a person, not the idea, like not
Right.
say, you're not hearing me, listen to my idea, but actually get up and attack somebody, which we saw so much of, just needs to be stopped. Like, there's no winning in this. That's not gonna be able to be winning in that.
I think when people are given a time limit to speak to, that's the end.
Yeah. Which is also, I know that's difficult.
Would getting like a clock that everyone can see,
Remember, I bought a clock.
putting it right there,
Clock, we're using it.
I mean, I think that's something,
We could put a timer. I'm gonna look at Alex for this. We could have a timer embedded, I believe, in the screen. Would that be a possibility? That wouldn't be a bad thing, because we always have screens up for people to see everything. And it wouldn't be a bad thing to have an embedded little timer. I don't know, something that
There was an option.
we could click on and, yeah.
I
Time
think
limit
it's really
time.
disrespectful when you're given a time and then you decide you're not gonna stop because nobody else counts but them.
Okay. All right. Do we want to set a time limit right now?
No, let's keep going and get.
Keep going with the brainstorming. Okay. All right, we've been about 10 minutes.
Yeah, this
Hit
is
more.
more.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
All right. Do we want to pause here? Anything else we can think of for this? All right, we will be revisiting these and keep talking about them. Thank you guys for this. This is a really, really good start, I think. The next one is, yes, you better be saved. Put that out. All right. All right, the next one is board goals. Ruben had mentioned in his superintendent's report to move forward with the budget. And this makes such good sense as the administration is looking at their line items. Right now, what they're looking at is what we've done for the last few years, the line items we have, what had to change with the fiscal, cuts we had to make. But we haven't given them a real direction on what we want as we're moving forward. We heard last spring a lot from the public about the important things to keep, and the board acted on that. and acted on that in such a way that we are not able to meet an obligation that came up this week with school care. So this was this, and we knew taking it, like all of us sat there and said, there could be real consequences to us keeping athletics, to us keeping these positions, you know, and the pre-K, like there could be consequences 6 months ago. Now there are. And what we do here is very, very real. It's just real. Like this fiscal responsibility is huge. You know, I went to, I'll just keep it here for a second. I went to the select board meeting in Ringe last week because we had the, last Wednesday before, right after we had our school board meeting, where we set the budget calendar. I printed off copies of it and gave it to the selectmen because of something John said. Now, not just because of this, but something John said was when he came on, he started not as a school, what got him interested in the school board was this opportunity to be part of the budget for the school. And if you look at our website, there is a part in school boards that says articles of agreement. So I had to do a little digging and to find where, because John said 2 people from each town were expected to be on the board. I was like, I had never heard that. And I certainly have never seen it. Ever. You know, and I've gone to school boards way before I was ever a school board member. I was involved, just watching school board meetings and coming. So in the Articles of Agreement, it does say that in 1970 something, they said to consolidate Jaffrey Ringe schools, because at that time there was a consolidation decision to do this. The selectmen would have 2 representatives from the select board come to the budget meetings, not just the deliberative. They'd come to all the budget meetings and they would be a part of setting the budget, a part of this discussion for the full time. And that's written right there in this Articles of Agreement. So I went to the town selectmen, one of whom is the guy who seconded the $3 million cut. Okay, so this is not a select board right now that has too much interest in how successful this school is. I'm sorry, it doesn't. They have acted against many of our things. At the same time, the town budgets are a fraction of what the Jaffrey Ringe school budget is, and everybody sees that. Okay, so I went there and I brought the budget calendar and I said, I'm inviting you, please come to these meetings. Here's the budget calendar. Come and see what we're doing. I know that you all know that we're online, but please come in person. And please, per the Articles of Agreement, who is going to be the 2 representatives coming to the budget meetings? And it says it can be 2 select board members or their appointees. And I pointed that out. Please, because they said right there in the meeting, and they're not recorded, they're live streamed in Ringe, but they're not recorded. But in that live stream, in the meeting, they said, the chair said, does anybody want to do this? And Tom Konis, the one who seconded and who had been coming to a couple of the board meetings for 2 years, said, I'm not doing it again. I've had my time, you guys do this.
Yep.
Then there was silence. And I reminded them, or it could be appointees. So I say this in part because if you're a Ringe resident and you want to be part of this budget process, please go to the select board and say, please appoint me, much like John did in Jaffrey years ago. Appoint me. Let me be part of this process, part of this discussion. They are public meetings, but as a board appointed representative, you have a voice. And it's really important. And this is in Jaffrey as well, 2 people. So when I went, I also really plugged the Working Together for Jaffrey Ringe banners, asked them to put it. The library actually offered space for that. And the board said, no, it doesn't follow our sign policies. So I guess there's going to be more conversation about that. But with the working together for Jaffrey Ringe. I was trying to get people to talk more with the selectmen, but they made it clear that they weren't gonna put it on public property. I bring this up because right here is our board goals. Our board goals were last updated right at COVID. That's when we had committees that were agreeing to things. And what happens with these board goals is these were last approved August 5th, 2019, which is a very poignant time. This is 6 months before we ever hear about anything with COVID. It has an introduction, and then you can look more closely into this, but this originated with dozens of people coming together to say, this is what's most important in our district. Community members, parents, students, staff, all kinds of people coming together to say, this is what's most important. To create our budget and really aligning with Ruben is showing with the organizational charts, what are our priorities? I really think we need to start here and see what's still aligning. We approved this for years because it really did align with what we wanted. But there's pieces that we have to look back and say, which pieces do we want to really focus on and how will we get there? And so what I'm going to ask the board to do, I know I feel like I'm tabling a lot tonight. What I'm going to ask the board to do is to really look at these goals. And the next time we get together, I'm going to ask board members to focus on particular ones to review, realign, reassess, say this is what is needed for this. To give you an example of what I'm asking, board goal number 1 is student SAU employee, and let me see if I can zoom you, and school community safety. We'll actively analyze and improve our safety for all SAU students and employees. At the time that this was written, we had a facilities director. And we drove a lot of our safety plans through the facilities director. We no longer have that position. Another one I can show you real quick. Student achievement was about test scores. Fiscal responsibility, absolutely. Strategic communication plan. At the time that we wrote this, we had a full-time communications director. We no longer have that person. So 2 of the 5 goals involved full-time employees directing us and working with us. We actually really need to look at how we want these goals to align now. Yes, John?
I think it might have been a half-time position.
Was it halftime for communications? Okay,
Halftime,
thank you.
communication, halftime,
School board, yeah.
Okay,
school board secretary.
perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So I really think we do need to take a look at this and kind of make sure that we are still agreeing with it, still wanting to pursue it this way. This here is really important as well. Recognizing our duty as a school board to the community and district we serve, keeping to the highest standards in all of endeavors. Our focus will be on effectiveness, efficiency, ethics, and openness, and attaining the best education for our children. I confess I don't see anything there that says that our main responsibility is to the taxpayers in particular. This says other things. I know we have fiscal responsibility, I get that. But is this still the standard we want to be holding? Or is there some other direction we need to go in? And how will we get there? So again, we do have board goals we have to do. I think right now, if we focus on this and see how to update this to say 2025, not 2019. And focusing on how we will get there. So what I'm going to ask you guys next week, and I'll open it up for discussion in a second, but my intent to ask you is for the next session for us each to take a couple of these to say, this is going to be my focus for a few weeks. I want to really just brainstorm ideas on how to get better at this and what needs to better align with where we are in our budget.
There are 3 other documents that you should look at.
Good.
in doing this. If you were to go to the website, go to important links and go to important documents. There's the communication plan, the last one that was written, the multi-year plan, which took the place of some of these specific school board goals. That needs to be updated, but still it's very much alive. And then the strategic design, which everything is based upon, those are those elements right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I asked, this was important to me too. I believe, as we strive to do this, and we might even need to take a work session to do this, like a time away as a board to do a work session on this. I think that the NEASC update was so important for telling us how we changed in this period. This 2022 NEASC report, we did not do well on. And what we did to improve that was so exceptional that they wrote this incredible letter saying, we haven't seen this before, this kind of improvement. I think that a lot of our direction really does need to come in pieces from the NEASC report that's updated. So I've asked Ruben to take a look at how to get the 2025 report on the website. I don't think it's bad to keep the 2022. I think showing this incredible change in this short amount of time is crucial, but I do think we need to have the 2025 report up. Okay, and I do think that with these others needs to be part of our goal making. Okay, any questions, discussion, Judy?
I just want to comment that I think the issue with the taxpayers, because I mean, I came in here like very confused by why our budget was so high. And now that I've seen, you know, the important and very expensive work that the special ed teachers do, and the fact that now we have members of our community that are homeless and they need services, that the basic things that most people out there are thinking of as being school expenses, they can't understand why it's not like, you know, $5 million instead of, you know, 30 million. So I think we need to really make it clear to our community that this is why the price is so high and it's definitely worth it. But, you know, they also need to be mindful of the fact that if they want to have the basics that, you know, the traditional things like sports and extracurriculars and things that, yeah, those are a smaller part of the budget, and you're forcing us to just like cut away at something that has absolutely, you know, no excess on it to cut away. So I think that we just need to really clarify for the community why our budget's so high, because most people don't understand it, and I didn't understand it until I got that. So
School budgets are extremely difficult to understand, and they're highly complex. They're very confusing, and we are subject, like no other organization is, to the continuous change in legislation. We have so many rules we have to follow, so many laws, and very often the legislature acts in such a way where we have mandates placed upon us and there's no funding for that. And our state is very used to acting that way. So anyone watching, come on October 16th to the school funding fairness presentation, because it talks about that. And I do cite some of that in the newsletter that I send out. There are annually there's legislation out there that is put forward that would help Jaffrey and Rindge with lower property taxes, help schools. We have to, you know, have conversations with those who are representing us as to, you know, what we think is best, and ask them to vote in a way that's going to be helpful to our community's survival.
Yeah.
Communication is just extraordinarily difficult. And a big part of it is that people are overwhelmed with information and data, things to read. And a lot of them are overwhelmed with find time to have dinner with their kids, you know? And so it's hard to find ways to get information to them that they can digest, they can absorb.
I'm gonna, if we're good with this piece, it's a lot of homework. I know, it's a lot of homework. Yeah, it would be great if when you guys come back in 2 weeks, if you guys could have reviewed these pieces that we're asking, they're all right on this part of the website. So that we can continue this conversation and really give the administration a direction, moving forward here. All right, I'm gonna hand this back to you. Yeah, we have just a few more things, you guys.
Gee, I'm being patient.
We're getting to you, Kathy.
Yes, you are.
We did that and under the time limit. Okay, so revision of DOE 25 and so this is the documents that we for the budget. Carrie, you wanna talk to us? Thank you.
Okay, so if you go to, which one do you want?
This is the MS 25,
MS 25, so go to the next page.
the DOE
Please.
25 or the MS?
No,
25?
just the next page of this
Oh, the
report.
MS 25.
Of course, oops.
Once we get there.
I'm just gonna come up here if that's
Yep.
okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, so can you scroll up a little bit more, Ruben, please? Okay, so this amount right here is what you voted previously to allocate toward the school care assessment we received. So basically, this line would be zeroed out, and this amount would go right here instead.
Okay, so that amount is $139,489.90. And that will go from the unassigned fund balance
To reserve for special
to
purposes.
reserve for special purposes.
So the balance sheet,
Yeah.
Line 35 to line
Change.
33.
yeah. And then on the DOE 25, it's something similar, it's just the lines are different. Okay, so right here, this would be 0, and then it would go up here instead.
Okay.
It's just
Again, the
shifting
same
that.
amount of money, $139,489.90 to be moved from the unassigned fund balance to reserve for special purposes. Line 35 to line 33. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if the people online could see your
Yes,
pointer and just wanted that. Okay,
yes.
all right, so that is what we approved tonight already.
Yes, so if you could just approve the change to the MS 25 and the DOE 25 reports,
Okay.
that would be great. And then I'll just need everyone to sign new cover sheets
Okay.
before
Is there
you
a
go,
motion to
please.
approve? Motion to approve. Jody, Jody, sorry, Judy, motion to approve MS, I don't have the agenda.
MS 25 and DOE.
Thank you. Yep. So Judy, motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? So moved. Thank you. We are now at public comments session 2, and we'll put the policy back up on the screen.
Didn't you decide to put that at the end, like when we did the order of changes or something like that? Like not to have public comments right now? Oh, we didn't? Oh,
Because we haven't even gotten to the proposed resolution.
Oh.
It's your school board association.
okay.
Don't pack up yet, friends.
I know, I thought maybe.
Oh, no. Wait till you see those.
Community would like to see that first before public.
Yeah, no, we got public comments.
I still have to eat some birthday cake.
Kathy Kozlowski from Orange. And just a couple of things. Charlie, I have to agree with you with what you were saying about Ringe, that we should be able to have the deliberative session. I think no matter where that session was held last year, sadly, the result would have been the same. I don't People have cars. They had such momentum, they would have driven to Jaffrey. So I hear from a lot of people that, well, we only have a grade school, but it seems like we're forgotten that we're part of. We never have any school board activities in Ringe. So I agree, John. The other thing I was thinking about, which has come up so many times, and it's been a learner for me, is the co-curriculars. And after seeing the presentation, I was so impressed with the clubs that are available to the kids and what is happening with the kids that are partaking. So I started thinking, each school does a newsletter, and I had no idea about these clubs until I saw that presentation. And I know there's a lot of people that don't. I've asked people if they've heard about them. What are you talking about? So I was wondering if on the newsletter, maybe the last page of it, there could be a spotlight section for just the co-curriculars. Maybe a listing of the clubs, the grades that are available, some of the testimonials from the kids that had given them. I think it would be great for the community to see that. Or if not the newsletter, somewhere, a newspaper spotlight, something. But it's such a good piece that I think it needs to go out there. So, the school board speaking policy. I think you should have 1,000 copies ready for the deliberative session and the following sessions. Handouts, I'll hand out. Then there's no excuse. It's in their face. This is what you can do and this is what you can't do. And I think the biggest thing is not engaging with the negativity when it comes. And I know that's hard.
Before you give the microphone back, I don't remember if you gave your name and town.
I did, didn't I?
She did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Kathy
Yes, you
Ringe.
did, Kathy. Okay, now I got
Okay.
it. Yeah. And boy, I love your idea. As you're saying that, we could have handouts with spots for writing and hand out pencils that like say School of Excellence or something. Or we could have, we could build this one. I like this idea. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. More people?
Yep.
Cool.
Hi, everyone. Allison Marr from Ringe. And I just want to thank you all. Lisa, I really appreciate you starting this conversation. And Kathy, I really appreciate that you brought attention to being able to ask questions and being able to have them answered in the moment earlier this year. I think your conversation around norms this evening is really important. And I hope that it's a way to engage members of our community and make them feel like they can participate in these meetings more and be better informed. So thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you, Allison.
No.
All right. Seeing no further comments, we have one more board matter as that I know of. Shortly on the 25th is going to be the
Lisa.
Someone just raise a hand.
oh, great, we'll take it. Yeah, we have time. Hi, you still on?
Hi, this is Angela Hackala. I live in Jaffrey. Just a couple of things. I wanted to know if the ground rules will apply to board conversations. Just thinking back to not long ago, a member was rudely cut off to the extent that she chose to leave the meeting entirely. And also when board members disagree with the general public and how they speak about them.
All right, so I would love somebody's help in the clarity of that. I did not hear it very well with the background. It was a question. So did somebody hear it clearly to? All right, I am so sorry. Could I ask you to repeat that? We had it's just a little foggy coming through. Could I ask you to repeat it?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah, there was just a little hint of, trouble in the clarity a little bit. If you could just repeat it.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just wondering if ground rules will apply to conversations within the board, because not that long ago, a board member was rudely cut off, and she made the choice to leave the meeting based on the response to her. And also wondering about when board members disagree with the public comments and how they respond to them.
Yes, these norms would absolutely apply to within the school board as well as public comment. Absolutely. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, that is the expectation. Yes, thank you. All right, I'm gonna make the recommendation because the school board delegate assembly comes on the 24th or 25th, and we do have a school board meeting prior to that. So I'm gonna make the recommendation because there's a good number, there's 21 pages on this document. And I do need your input on these. So I'm gonna make a recommendation that we circle back to this, but I do want to call attention to the document and how it's written. The way the School Board Association resolutions work is it's a 3-year process. I did not share the proposed for last year that are being voted on or the year before. Whatever these are the new proposals that if everybody approves would take 3 years to enact with the 2 separate delegate assemblies to put them forward. So that's how they work at this process. What these are the final resolutions that will be voted on for enacting. Am I right? I believe so. No, not right. These are not the final. This is the first run so that people will come and see them the first time at the assembly. We've had a couple of years where you guys have given me guidance on how to vote on the previous one, so I didn't bother bringing them forward. These are just the brand new ones. The way that these work is a school district proposes a resolution. The New Hampshire School Board Association looks at that, looks at it through their lawyers, vets it for if it's a repeat or something, and they might approve it, or they might say no, or they might edit it. And so as you're looking at these, they will give a rationale for what they've decided. And then the delegation gets up and says, no, we want the original. We want the edited version. We don't want this at all. That's it. So that's what you're kind of telling me is, do you guys want the original each one? Do you like what the New Hampshire School Board Association is suggesting? Or do you not want me voting on this at all? Or voting no? So that's what you'll come back to me in 2 weeks with. Okay? Yeah. Yes, Charlie.
I just wanted to go on record as saying I support all the SBA recommendations.
Okay, so you've read through them and
Yes,
you support their edits?
Pages.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, you'll see this kind of language, New Hampshire School Board Association Board of Directors recommendation is support an alternate resolution, and then they'll make that alternate resolution. Those alternate resolutions are legally vetted and kind of fine-tooth combed with RSAs and lots of background work. So just to give you that. All right, thank you, guys. We will take any other board matters? John?
Yes, I just wanted to mention that there is a League of Women Voters are sponsoring here in Jaffrey, I believe, at the Jaffrey Women's Club. On the 30th of October, 6:30 p.m. Discussion on school funding and closing the current funding gap. And our state representatives and state senators have been invited, so we hope that they'll be there, but it sounds like an opportunity to go and maybe ask questions, learn a little bit about it.
Looks like everybody's there.
Hmm?
It looks like everyone's there, Denise. is
Yeah,
there.
they're all
Yeah.
listed. I don't know if they're confirmed or not.
Oh, right.
That's the only thing.
What was the date of that again?
It's October 30th, Thursday. And it's 6:30 PM at the Jaffrey Women's Club. Yep.
Thank you.
And I also just wanted to ask a question. Is anybody going to the Kidder Law Conference this year?
I am not.
Any? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're gonna be there. I hope you'll bring back some of the documents and maybe share them. I know that, okay, thank you. Judy?
Ruben, you have one more?
Enjoy it.
Yep, the CMHS open house is tomorrow. So we've had the Ringe open house, Ringe Memorial School open house, and the Jaffrey Grade School open house. They were very well attended. Very nice evenings. Tomorrow, we have this school's open house, and we expect to have quite a few people here in the middle school and high school. And that is from 5:30 to 7 o'clock. So, I mean, it's
That's
kind of,
tomorrow?
you shorten the evening by not having all these, resolutions one by one, so you can make up that time tomorrow at 5:30 to come on in to the CMHS.
It has really been a short meeting. today.
Yeah, so come on over.
And I will say that one of the most exciting things I see at these saw at the open houses is that they set up a fingerprinting area. So any volunteer, any person who wishes to volunteer can come and they'll do the fingerprinting there. And I know it's really wild. Like, this is such a cool offering. So if you're a parent or community member, it's like you want to come in and you want to be part of this, come have the discussions, and the process is all right there at the open house. Like, that's very cool.
And since they're live scan fingerprints, it's very exciting as an individual getting them when your fingerprints are taken and it says excellent. So you feel like, wow, I've got excellent prints. Or you're like, okay, that's cool. My phone has good prints. That's good. Yeah, so affirming.
All right.
At the excellent reference to your report.
No, no, just the fingerprints.
More than safe. Excellent.
Yep.
All right. It's judgment on human nature. All right. We will take a motion.
Could I just mention one more thing? I promise it'll be quick, and it's too bad that a member of the public isn't here, but I know that we have had some feedback, and I know what it kind of struck me what John said a couple weeks ago is that sometimes we get busy and forget to do these things. Certainly, but one of the things that she suggested was like maybe having bios on our website for school board members. To me, that's like something easy to do. Yeah, hey.
Guys, I'm sorry. John, we're not adjourned. Give me 1 second. So this was, Chris was still talking.
I was saying something nice about you, John. I was saying how you had mentioned a few weeks ago, how sometimes somebody will suggest something, maybe at a public comment, and we just let it go. I think it's important if we're going to receive these public comments and indicate that we may act on them, that we do them. And I think, something as easy as having those bios up would be probably a good thing. And again, an example of us receiving comment and taking action on it. And it's something that is probably zero cost and possibly some benefit. So just wanted to bring that up to maybe put it on the list.
You had mentioned that before, and that is an excellent idea. Could I ask you to do a little homework? I know you're wicked busy. Could you put together just a little like Google form, just a little something to say, these are the areas that we'd like your background in, or your educate, whatever.
Perfect.
So give a little bio sampler, like this is what a bio.
I'll go look and see what some other boards have and do that. And then we'll send it out.
Plug and paste,
Perfect.
because we know John's is gonna be like 7 pages and have lots of, personal, like, this is my mantra, and Sandra's gonna be, right. That's, so that would be great to give us a direction.
Perfect. I like that.
All right, we'll take a motion. Thank you, Judy. We are motioning to adjourn. Second? Second. Thank you, Christine. All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose, abstain. That passes 7-0-0. Thank you, everybody.